Have you ever felt like you had to shout just to be heard in a world that never stops talking? Or maybe you've been told you're too quiet, too reserved, or too shy to lead, succeed, or make an impact. What if I told you that some of the most powerful people in history, think Albert Einstein, Rosa Parks, and Warren Buffett, were introverts? Yes, being quiet can be a superpower. And in this video, we're breaking down Quiet by Susan Cain, a book that reveals why our world undervalues introverts and how we can change that, starting with ourselves. Introduction. Welcome back to AudioBookCAPS, your go-to place for powerful, thought-provoking book summaries that help you grow in life, career, and self-awareness. Today's book is Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking, written by Susan Cain. This isn't just a book, it's a movement. Published in 2012, Quiet became a global bestseller and sparked a much-needed conversation about the role of introverts in a society obsessed with charisma, chatter, and hustle culture. Susan Cain is a former corporate lawyer turned writer and speaker. And like many of us, she once tried to fake it in a loud world, until she discovered the quiet strengths of her personality weren't flaws, but assets. This book is for introverts who want to stop apologizing, extroverts who want to understand their quieter friends and teammates, parents raising introverted kids, leaders who want to create space for deep thinking and innovation. Now let's dive into the biggest insights from Quiet and learn how embracing the power of introversion can transform how we live, love, and lead. 1. The Extrovert Ideal, our culture's favorite personality type. The first big idea in Quiet is what Susan Cain calls the extrovert ideal. It's the belief that the ideal self is gregarious, alpha, and comfortable in the spotlight. From business to education, the world is designed for extroverts. Classrooms reward those who speak up most, not necessarily those with the best ideas. Job interviews favor the charming and talkative. Open-plan offices prioritize collaboration over quiet concentration. Leadership is often defined by charisma instead of competence. But here's the catch. This ideal wasn't always the norm. In the 19th century, we lived in what Cain calls a culture of character. Traits like honor, duty, and humility were prized. But with the rise of industrialization, advertising, and mass media in the 20th century, we shifted to a culture of personality. Suddenly, it wasn't about who you were, it was about how you performed. People like Dale Carnegie, author of How to Win Friends and Influence People, taught us how to charm, not think deeply. And introverts? They were told to come out of their shells. But Cain argues that introverts have powerful traits society desperately needs: deep thinking, careful listening, creativity, and the ability to focus without distraction. 2. Introversion isn't shyness. One of the most important clarifications in the book is this: introversion is not the same as shyness. Shyness is about fear of judgment. Introversion is about energy. Introverts feel energized by solitude and drained by social stimulation. Extroverts, on the other hand, thrive in social environments and get bored when alone for too long. It's not that introverts don't like people. It's just that they prefer meaningful conversations over small talk and quiet reflection over noisy gatherings. Understanding this distinction is key to embracing introversion instead of pathologizing it. Cain uses the example of Rosa Parks. She was soft-spoken and reserved, but her quiet courage sparked a civil rights revolution. You don't need to be loud to be bold. 3. Biology matters, the science behind introversion. Susan Cain dives deep into neuroscience and psychology to explain that introversion is partly biological. Studies show that introverts have more sensitive nervous systems. They respond more strongly to external stimuli, light, sound, social input. In one famous experiment, Infants who reacted intensely to new stimuli were more likely to become introverted adults. Their brains are literally wired to feel more. This means introverts need less stimulation to feel full. Loud environments, fast-paced conversations, and too much multitasking can overwhelm them. Cain calls this the sweet spot of stimulation. Introverts thrive when they can control their environments and pace themselves. So, if you've ever felt fried after a long party or needed to recharge alone after a workday, it's not antisocial behavior. It's biology. 4. Solitude is crucial for creativity and innovation. Western culture glorifies brainstorming and groupthink, but studies show that solitude, not teamwork, is the birthplace of innovation. Introverts often work best alone, where they can dive deep into problems without distraction. Cain highlights famous creatives like Steve Wozniak, who built the first Apple computer alone, and authors like J.K. Rowling and Dr. Seuss, who created magic in solitude. While collaboration has its place, forcing constant group work can stifle original thought, especially for introverts. Cain argues for more balance. Allow solitude for idea generation and collaboration for execution. We need quiet spaces for reflection if we want truly groundbreaking work. 5. The danger of forced extroversion. Many introverts are told they must act extroverted to succeed. Speak up more, network harder, fake confidence. But Cain warns that this acting out of type can lead to burnout, anxiety, and identity loss. She shares stories of introverts who thrived in careers once they stopped pretending. One teacher, for instance, thought she had to be bubbly and animated to teach well, until she embraced her quiet style and found deeper connection with students. That said, Cain also introduces the idea of the free trait theory. It says we can, and sometimes must, stretch outside our comfort zones for causes we care about. For example, an introvert might give a passionate speech to advocate for climate change, not because they love crowds, but because the mission matters. It's okay to step up and act extroverted temporarily, but it's vital to return to your true nature to refuel. 6. Schools and workplaces are built for extroverts. Let's talk about education and work. Cain reveals how most classrooms are designed for extroverted behavior. Group work is the default. Participation grades reward talking over thinking. Students who prefer solitude are often overlooked or labeled antisocial. This extrovert bias continues into the workplace. Open-plan offices are noisy and distracting. Meetings favor the loudest voices. Leadership pipelines reward charisma more than competence. Cain calls for systemic changes. Let students have quiet time to think and write before sharing ideas. Create private workspaces or quiet zones. Value written communication and deep research, not just FaceTime. In short, don't confuse volume with value. 7. Introverts make excellent leaders. Contrary to popular belief, introverts often make better leaders, especially in teams that require creativity, autonomy, and deep thinking. Why? Because introverted leaders tend to listen more and talk less, encourage others to take initiative, avoid ego-driven decisions, focus on meaningful goals rather than flashy appearances. Cain shares research that shows introverted managers get better results from proactive employees, while extroverted leaders may feel threatened by strong team members. Quiet leaders don't need the spotlight. They just want results. Think of figures like Gandhi or Abraham Lincoln, soft-spoken, reflective, and yet profoundly impactful. 8. Relationships, introverts in love. Cain devotes a powerful chapter to personal relationships. She explores how introverts and extroverts navigate love, marriage, and communication. Often, opposites attract. One partner thrives in social settings, the other needs alone time to recharge. Conflict can arise when these differences aren't respected. Cain suggests, schedule quiet time if you're an introvert. Be intentional about social time if you're with an extrovert. Talk openly about energy needs and boundaries. The key isn't to become more alike, but to understand and support each other's wiring. 9. Parenting introverted kids. If you're raising a quiet child, this chapter is gold. Cain urges parents and teachers not to label introverted kids as shy or difficult. Instead, help them build confidence at their own pace. Tips include: allow downtime after school. Encourage friendships one-on-one, not in big groups. Avoid overscheduling. Let them observe before jumping into activities. The goal isn't to turn them into extroverts, but to help them thrive as they are. 10. Speak softly, change the world. The final message in Quiet is clear. You don't have to be loud to lead. You don't have to speak often to be heard. And you don't have to change who you are to make an impact. The world needs the balance of both introverts and extroverts. Cain challenges us to stop apologizing for being quiet and start owning it. Because quiet isn't weak. Quiet is deep. Quiet is wise. Quiet is powerful. Conclusion. So, what's the takeaway from Quiet? Introverts aren't broken. They're just different. And when they embrace their nature, instead of hiding it, they unlock real power. If you've ever felt pressured to be louder, bolder, or more out there, take a breath. Quiet reminds us that introspection, listening, and solitude are not shortcomings. They're superpowers. Want to go deeper? I highly recommend you read the full book. It's packed with stories, studies, and strategies to help you understand yourself and others on a whole new level. If you enjoyed this summary, don't forget to like the video. Drop a comment. Are you an introvert or extrovert? Subscribe to AudioBookCAPS for more powerful book breakdowns. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that being quiet is not just okay. It's a gift. Thanks for watching. And remember, you don't have to shout to be heard. Sometimes the quietest voice has the biggest impact.